Welcome back in, everybody, to another One Piece chapter breakdown. Today, we're here to talk about the monumental chapter 1182 titled Zaza. Dude, I still cannot get over that name, man. It's been a couple of days since the spoilers have dropped, and I've been sitting with Zaza and giggling every single time I say it. It is just so damn ridiculous, but we'll get to that at the end of the video. So, first things first, of course, we do gotta start with the cover page, and we got another reader request this week with, a brand new character? Just kidding. We got Admiral Fujitora here. It's just been so long that I forgot he even existed. Dude, I love Fujitora. His moments in Dressrosa and the Reverie, amazing. Every time he's on screen, the fans go wild. But, with that being said, where the hell is he, man? Ever since we started this final saga, he's kind of been MIA. So I do genuinely wonder where he's going to show up next. And also, what is his reaction to the Vegapunk message? More so than any other Marine Admiral out there, Fujitora does care about the people. So since he heard that the world is sinking into the sea, what is he going to do now? You know, I do wonder where he's going to crop up. Maybe he goes to fight Cross Guild. Maybe he goes after the One Piece itself. Maybe he turns his head towards Sword. We don't really know, but I am looking forward to getting more Isho in the story. Also kind of crazy, the last time we've actually heard about him was in an SBS where Oda revealed that he does in fact wield a supreme grade blade. Ha ha ha. Cover page is kind of funny though, because while Isho is enjoying his bowl of noodles, you can tell that the raccoon and the fox are very worried. They're literally sweating like, oh, dude, if this guy doesn't like our noodles, we might die. So, going on to the first page of the chapter now, we continue the Loki and Emu Slamathon. And we see that Loki says, man, this form is just way too big. It's hard to keep track of him properly, but I still feel his presence. Emu, of course, survived the Thorheim blow, and now he's just talking to himself. He's saying, yo, Nidhogg, to think that we would meet again in this world, you traitor. And I love it, man. You know, Emu here in Elbaph, he feels like a guy going to a high school reunion. Like, he's going back, he's seeing all of his old friends, and he's getting a little bit nostalgic. He's smiling while he says that, dude. And when it comes to Nidhogg being a traitor, this could mean a myriad of things. It could mean that in the past, Emu and Nidhogg worked hand in hand. They were buddies. And then Nidhogg eventually betrayed him. Maybe Nidhogg didn't betray him in the past, but simply is betraying him today because it's hiding out here in Elbaph and now that it's sided with Loki. Or it could be that Nidhogg was simply a traitor to the people around him and had nothing really to do with Emu. See, that's the thing, right? Oda is giving us something by dropping the traitor line, but in reality, there's a lot of ways to interpret this line, and since Oda doesn't really give us context as to what side Nidhogg was on 900 years ago, yeah, we have no clue. Since that's the case, you know exactly what we're going to do in the next couple of days. We will be holding some polls in regards to this chapter, so make sure to stay tuned for that. We go down a little bit more, and now Emu turns his attention to Ragnir. The reason why Emu didn't say anything to him earlier is simply because Ragnir was in his hammer form, but now that he's back to his squirrel form, Emu has a little chat with him. He says, Snow, of course, lightning is born from colliding ice. Together, thine synergy is exceptional. Ragnir, thou art as I remember thee, waiting all this time for a new master. How nostalgic! Yeah, man, like I said, old man going to a high school reunion. Ragnir, of course, recognizes Emu, and he hits him with GG. Those were Ragnir's words verbatim. What does that actually mean when you translate it to English? I have no idea. Somebody bring Chopper in here, goddammit. Dude, between Biblo the owl potentially knowing a lot, to now Ragnir potentially knowing a lot, it's like, yo, we need to talk to these damn animals, man. Chopper, come on! So we do get solid confirmation here that Ragnar indeed ate the mythical Squirrel no Me model Ratatoskr Devil Fruit. Of course, this was widely accepted by the community already, but it's nice to have that confirmation here. So as far as how the hammer ate the devil fruit, that's still a mystery, right? That's been a mystery that we've had ever since Alabasta, bro. We had Lasso the rocket launcher eating the dog devil fruit, and then we had Spandam Sword eating the elephant devil fruit, and now we have a hammer eating a squirrel devil fruit. And it's like, okay, we have no idea. Hopefully we learn here in Elbaph, potentially once everything settles down, we spend some time with Ragnar, talk to them a little bit, maybe Vegapunk weighs in saying, oh, this is how it actually works. Or perhaps this could simply be a really nice SBS question. So as far as this goes, Ragnar seemingly has all of the memories of the past within them, right? Because, like I said, they're responding to Emu. That does make me wonder if other Zoan Devil Fruits retain memories from the Void Century. Like, a good example would be Nidhogg. Emu calls Nidhogg a traitor. If Loki didn't eat the Devil Fruit, like, let's say the Nidhogg fruit went to a hammer. Just another hammer. I don't know why. That was the first thing that came to mind. But let's say the Nidhogg Devil Fruit was eaten by an inanimate object. Would it also just retain all of its memories as well? Would it also be reacting to Emu's words? I kind of wonder. Because I think that does pose a really good question of, can we access these Void Century memories? Like, can we actually talk to the real Nidhogg? Can we talk to the original Sun God? That right there is a path that's always been on the road, but will Oda take the turn on that road? So, we go on with the battle though, and Loki uses a brand new attack, Ragna 5 Arrows, good name, and then we see that Emu responds in tandem with his own new attack as well, called Zitmittel. Definitely pronouncing that wrong. I've seen people try to give me great pronunciations in the comments, but some of them conflict. But essentially, it's Zitmittel, middle. Nova Eclipse. And we see that the ring behind Emu enlarges, and then it starts shooting out Maki demon balls, which collides with Loki's Ragna 5 arrows, and we see a bunch of explosions in the sky and in the forest. It is some crazy stuff. As far as the Zitmittel in general, that is an Aztec demon goddess, very skeletal, which I do think fits Emu's whole thematic here. If Emu is the devil, of course he's going to be utilizing devil-named abilities. So now we cut over to Bonnie and the Lilith Vegapunk, and they're pondering who this guy in the sky actually is. They say, I wonder, who is he? He clearly outranks all of the Knight of Gods, and he's not one of the Gorosei. I suppose it is only natural for a vast 8-century-year-old organization to have spawned some dark shadows given the history of its power struggles. If that is the case, and then the classic Vegapunk cutoff. Dude, I cannot list the amount of times this has happened where Vegapunk is about to come to some crazy conclusion and then we cut away. It reminds me of the Vegapunk broadcast where that one is not Vegapunk's fault, but of course, the broadcast cut out right when they're about to drop the Will of D stuff. And then going back before that, they were talking about Kuma. Oh, the true power of the Buccaneers. I see, it's cut off. Dude, it's happening again here, man. Come on, Vegapunk, who is he? Of course, we know it's Saint Emu no Rona, but nobody here knows that as well.
Or maybe VP
came to a different conclusion and actually knows what this really is. Because, Emu, surviving 900 years is insane, so I wonder what's Vegapunk's hypothesis for why that's actually the case. And one thing I really enjoy here is that while Lilith is talking, you can see old man Vegapunk right behind her, which makes sense considering they're all essentially just him. Still looking forward to the day when he comes back. His body is here in Elbaph, so alongside Kuma coming back, we will get old man VP back in action eventually. So we see that Sanji, who is laying beside Lilith and Bonnie, actually gets up and he says, I can't back down, Bonnie-chan. And we see a little flashback of, I'm assuming 5 minutes prior, Killingham runs off and he says, Sanji, I guess I don't need to deal with you after all. I gotta admit, It's crazy how you survived an attack like that. Sanji says, where are you going? And Killingham responds by saying, I'm going to see my mission through. Can't you tell? My power is overflowing now. Toodles. Toodles is maybe not the best word to use there, but he does say toodles, and he blasts off into the sky, just like how Saint Sommers blasted off a couple chapters back. And yes, it is confirmed here that the God Knights are still gunning for the children. A couple chapters back, I was questioning that, mainly because Saint Sommers left the village where all the children were, but we'll actually get to see what he was up to here in a second. So yes, because Killingham is off to kidnap kids once more, Sanji says that there's no time to waste. That prick hasn't given up. Sanji also blasts off, and he says that we cannot let everyone's efforts be in vain. Usopp and Luffy admire this country. I love it, dude. It's still Usopp's arc. One day, Usopp is going to do something crazy. It hasn't been yet. You know, people think it's the speech. I think there's more with Usopp. I think there's a reason why he's down for the count right now. But yes, Sanji says this is the country that Usopp and Luffy admire, and it is my personal duty to protect Elbaph. And why is it his duty? Well, it's because this is the land of giant, beautiful women. Vegapunk and Bonnie just do not say anything to this at all. And then we cut on over to the Owl Library, and we see that there was actually an underground hidden passage, a hidden room, and that is where Biblo took the books. Yeah. If this is really still in the Owl Library, I feel like the fire would have destroyed this room too, but maybe it's just so detached from the library that it'll be fine, but semantics, right? So Biblo didn't really go anywhere that crazy. It's funny because a couple chapters back, when we first saw that Biblo was MIA, people were like, yo, it's the Heaven Realm. The Heaven Realm is finally coming into play. Oh, Biblo went to the next island. Biblo is going to visit an old friend. Sometimes, guys, reality is cruel and often mundane. Biblo simply went next door, or should I say, to the basement. So yes, Robin is super happy that Biblo saved the books, and then Saul weighs in and he says, yes, I am grateful too, Robin, but I'm starting to think that Biblo is more of a mystery than I first reckoned. Brother, Saul's dialogue here really made me take a step back. And I get it, right? Saul, he was always inquisitive about this owl, right? He wanted to know more. He's like, yo, this is the mysterious owl library. We think this owl grows the books. We don't know for sure. And it's like, dude, Saul, you had 20 years on this island, brother. You're telling me you never once like started questioning this owl, you know, tried poking and prodding him to see if he'd give you any answers? Like, I don't know, man. Biblo, in my opinion, is 100% from the Void Century. Beyond even. And if that's the case, I'm sure Biblo, alongside Ragnir, knows a lot. We just gotta ask. Like, I don't know, man. Put a piece of paper in front of him and see what happens. Yeah, I do think that by the end of Elbaph, we will get that Biblo information. Hopefully we can get him to talk. So far, Biblo's simply been hitting us with the ... and the hoot. Yeah, dude. We need to find out what this owl is all about. So now, we go on over to everybody's favorite God Knight, Saint Sommers, and we see that he actually brought over a Zvar, one of those flying Vegapunk ships that we saw at the beginning of Elbaph. He brings it over to the Rainbow Port because their original escape ship was destroyed by the Nika Dream Monster. Sommers picks up the Denden Mushi and he says, hello there, Sommers here. Wait, no, Super Sommers here, dude. This guy, man. Super Sommers, huh? He says that he's found a suitable giant ship. Get the brats over here in the next 5 minutes. Saint Sommers is starting the Elbaph countdown timer, guys. Well, in reality, not really, though. Because when you think about it, it's not like they have to leave in 5 minutes. It's just preferable that they leave in the next 5 minutes. It's not like Sommers is going to take off right away without Killingham or Gunko or the kids. No, like if Killingham took 6 or 7 minutes, Sommers would probably just sit right here anyways. But he's just showing everybody that You know, time is of the essence, right? The Great One cannot stay out for too long. We got to get a move on. So now, with that being established, will the God Knights succeed here in Elbaph? I'm not too sure. You know, ask me this 10 chapters ago. Ask me in 2025. I'd say, I don't think so, right? The God Knights are getting whooped. You know, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, they're too strong. Emu, of course, wasn't on the island yet. And it's like, yeah, I don't think the God Knights are winning. But now that they're buffed up, now that they have this second ship, now that Emu is here, it's like, maybe they do win. You know, maybe they do successfully kidnap the kids of Elbaph, and that right there could serve as a nice jumping point for the Straw Hats to go to Marie Joie. Because as it stands, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, the Straw Hats, they have no reason to go to the Holy Land. Maybe they'll go because of Gunko if Brook gets up and, you know, he reconciles with her and she gets kidnapped. Yeah, it could be for Gunko, but it could also just be for the Elbaph kids. Like, let's say Colin gets taken, Ylva gets taken, Bjorn gets taken. Well, guess what? Luffy's not gonna let that slide. He's gonna want to get them back. So maybe this is what starts the final war. Maybe this is what starts the raid on the Holy Land. Or it could be something else after this island, right? It doesn't have to be the kids. Like perhaps Vivi. Maybe Vivi gets kidnapped by Emu, and then of course, Luffy would want to go save her. There's a lot of ways to get Luffy to go to the Holy Land, but since that option is still MIA right now, the God Knights taking the kids is a viable route. So yeah, when it comes to whether they'll succeed or not, I am pretty 50-50 on it. I would like it if there was like a shocking twist and we actually lost here, but we'll see about that. Also, since we're talking about reasons as for why Luffy could go to the Holy Land, perhaps the man marked by flames is a Knight of God, or perhaps they do work with the world government. That could be another really good jumping point, but we don't really know anything about the man marked by flames right now. So again, it's wishy-washy. One funny scenario I just imagined would be if this new ship that Sommers brought over actually got destroyed the exact same way the last one did, where Killingham's dream monster fell on it. Because we do have another dream monster here in this chapter, and just like Nika, it is of the god variety. So before we get there though, we do cut on over to the Western Village, and we see that Chopper has successfully sewn back together Gaird's fingers. Good stuff here. Of course, you know, Gaird is a ship doctor. She does like making little clothes. I am glad she has the fingers back. Chopper goes on and he says once Elbaph is safe, he will treat everybody properly, but this is just what he can do at a moment's notice. We see that unfortunately, Hyruden is still down for the count. You know, Zoro, he's a monster. Sanji, he's a monster. Hyruden, I know, man. I don't want to compare him to those guys, but man, he's still down. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I really do expect Hyruden to have a big moment here in Elbaph. Almost on the same scale as I expect Usopp to do something big as well. Is that crazy? Is it cope? Maybe. But I just feel like narratively, you know, being the prince of Elbaph, or, you know, the bastard, dirty-blooded prince, and Loki's bigger brother, I'm like, yo, Hyruden, man, you need to get back up, bro. This is your country, man. Harold was your father, man. Get up, dude. Yeah, poor Hyruden, man. Poor Hyruden. Down for the count. Not even like awake or nothing, dude. He is on the ground. I bet we might even get theories that Hyruden is just dead. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody just comments, well, Sai, Hyruden's actually not alive anymore. Do you see him breathing? Oh. So we do get some conversation between Gaird and Rodo. It's some nice stuff there. Gaird's like, hey, I like how you saved your brother. And then Rodo started gushing blood. And then Gaird's like, well, that's, yeah. And Bjorn's also in the corner like, oh, Rodo, I just started to like you too, man. What is this? We then cut on over to the forest and we see where Zoro is at. He is with the only new giant warrior pirate that has not seen any action, Goldberg, and they are rushing off to Rainbow Port. They are chasing down Saint Sommers. And Zoro makes a pretty interesting observation. He says that those black fireballs that Emu fired at them actually turned into bullets and explosives. What is up with this? And also, the God Knights have powered up. If we do not wrap this up soon, things are going to get really ugly. And just like how Sanji said that he wanted to defend Elbaph, Zoro said the same thing too, right? He said, it's my captain's motto, my friend's country is my country, which I do enjoy. So getting back to Imu's black flames, I do think it is very odd that it can transform into other things. Of course, for Imu's weapon, I think that makes sense, right? Oh, here's a flail, here's a mace, here's a sword. Gotcha. Imu's weapon is versatile. But here in this chapter, we see that, no. The little projectiles that he shoots out also can transform. Fascinating. Like into bullets, into bombs. Right now, the way I'm viewing Imu's black flame ability, this is going to be a really bad parallel, but it's kind of like Satori at Skypiea and how he had those surprise balls. And the surprise balls, sometimes it had snakes. Sometimes it was explosives. You don't really know what you're going to get. It feels like Imu's Omen is the same way, but of course Imu can choose what's inside of them, right? Like, oh, I want this Omen to be a bullet. I want this Omen to be an explosion. Maybe he could spawn a poisonous snake, right? I don't know. And I do like that Zoro is noticing this as well, because we still do not know how to forge a black blade in One Piece. A popular rising theory is that you do need to master demonic or demonic hockey. You need the black flames, which I wouldn't mind. Because as it stands, black blades are still a complete mystery. So I am down with it, brother. We now cut over to the Night of Gods, and they're having a nice little conversation. Killingham says, hey, Sommers, I've gone and done it now. I summoned something insane. Sommers says, Killingham, do not tell me. And he says, yep, I'm afraid I accidentally got carried away, man. I summoned something that I'm actually scared of. Sommers immediately knows what he summoned, and he says, you idiot. That thing is terrifying even for all of us. Can you control it? Please tell me you can. Killingham is kind of unsure, but he's like, yo, it's a dream demon, so probably. What's done is done. Just hurry. We're running out of time. Where is Gunko? And Killingham says, I passed by her on my way over to the village, and it looked like she was dead. Fascinating. So we're going to carry on with the God Knight conversation here in a second, but as far as Gunko goes, I think this does confirm that Imu melted the ice with his black fire, but Gunko is still unconscious and she might be even wounded from Imu's Maki. Right now, I'm just curious as to what Imu wants to do with Gunko. Is Imu going to bring her back to the Holy Land? Is he going to strip away her powers? Does he want to kill her? We don't really know. But we do know that Imu does not care about her right now, because while he stopped by to give Sommers and Killingham the Omen Maki buff, he didn't do the same for Gunko. So it seems like currently he doesn't care. Which makes sense, because Gunko was regaining her memories, Gunko was fighting back, Gunko was trying to help the Straw Hats. Yeah, it makes sense that Imu is playing his cards safely here. So as far as Gunko goes, I obviously do not think she's dead. We still have not gotten her flashback. There's still a lot of plot points to explore with her. And hell, once she wakes up, she could tell us a lot about the Holy Land, how it works, how it functions. Maybe she knows the man marked by flames if he is a Knight of God. There's a lot we could get from this gal, and I am looking forward to it. An interesting route would be if she actually got back up and fought Imu or the God Knights as well. I don't know, man. I think having that traitor amongst the God Knights would be pretty damn interesting to explore. So, getting back to the Killingham and Sommers conversation, Sommers responds to Gunko's condition, saying, well, whatever. The Great One Imu isn't meant to be out in this world. That is a fact. Right now, our key combat forces and forces that must be erased are all together right here. We must not disappoint the Great One. We must live up to expectations, Killingham. And I hope they do. Right now they're looking really good. I gotta see how they deal with Zoro and Sanji, right? Zoro and Sanji, they are heavy hitters. Dude, Zoro and Sanji, man, they rarely lose. So that's why it's like, okay, I want the God Knights to win, But realistically, against Zoro and Sanji, I don't know, man. I do not know. Zoro, of course, is mastering his advanced Conqueror's Haki. He has not really tried it yet, so I do think he's going to test it out on St. Sommers. And then for Sanji, we still don't know how that Skopper Conqueror's Haki conversation went down. So now that Killingham is a real opponent that he can't simply, 1v3 easily, it's like maybe Sanji unlocks something here? Will the God Knights be foil for the Straw Hats, or will the Straw Hats be foil for the God Knights? That is a big question. And of course, again, we're going to hold some polls about it. So, we go on over to the Western Village once more. Actually, we stayed in the Western Village like almost this entire time, just cutting from the port to the forest of the village. But now we're in the village portion of the village, and we see that it's raining cats and dogs all of a sudden. The giants are wondering what the hell is going on, and Killingham says, "Get those brats." We see that a giant watery arm comes through the window. It grabs the kids. The kids are being soaked in it, and Killingham starts going off on a monologue. He says, "For those of us born above the clouds, the idea of water falling on our heads from the sky is terrifying. We have always heard stories, not just about the D-Clan and Nika, but also about the monster known as the Rain God, the one who pelts the lower realm with water from overhead. It appears with the rhythm of the rain dance." And there we have it. We see that Zaza has been summoned. What a silly name, man. Zaza, huh? Of course, depending on where you live, Zaza is just another name for weed. But also, in Japanese, it is the onomatopoeia or the sound of rain falling. So the name does make sense, and it does follow a thematic, right? We're going down the Dragon Ball Super route of naming schemes, where the gods all follow this theme of sound effects. At least 2 out of 2 of them do, right? Sun God Nika is the sound of a smile. Zaza is the sound of rain. I wouldn't be shocked if the Forest God, Earth God, Sea God, and War God even all have names that are sound effects. So here we have it. Zaza, the myth, the legend, the rain goddess herself has descended in Elbaph, and her design is pretty damn fire. So where do we even start? What do we talk about first? I guess we'll just tackle the design. Zaza does have 4 arms. We see 2 right away, right? One arm is up here, the other one is grabbing the children, but we have another one that's coming down like this, and then another one that's grabbing onto the house. Realistically, since you're a god, I'm assuming they could just spawn more arms if they wanted to, right? They are made of water, so if they wanted like 5 or 6 arms, I'm sure they could do that too. They also have a ring behind them, just like Emu, but this ring doesn't have eyes. Instead, we see the water droplet things coming out of it instead. I'm not too sure what to call that, but yes, I think this does confirm that all the main gods in One Piece, this is a jump, have fully completed rings behind them. Like how Emu has his eye ring, the rain god here has a water ring. I do think that Luffy, when he fully masters his sun god Nika fruit, that smoke cloud behind him, the white one, it's gonna turn into a fully formed ring. So I think this is just another key point on the map saying that Luffy hasn't fully awakened yet. Gear 6, guys. Gear 6, man. It's around the corner. So now, the next thing to ask in regards to Zaza, but where are they today? Gotta remember, this is not the real Zaza. This is Nightmare Zaza, which also means that this Zaza is probably nerfed. This Zaza is probably nowhere near as strong as the real deal. Kind of like how the Nightmare Nika monster is nowhere as strong as the real Nika. There was a Nightmare Loki monster. Obviously, that was dealt with off screen. So Zaza, yes, it's made by Killingham's buffed up imagination, buffed up omen powers. So I doubt it's weak, but it's not the real deal. We gotta remember that. But Zaza, where are they today? Is that devil fruit still in circulation? And if so, who has it? Of course, the most popular answer by far, I'm going to hold the poll. I bet it's going to get like 80% of the votes. Dragon. Dragon has always been synonymous with rain, with thunder, with wind. If you told me that Dragon has the Zaza Devil Fruit, I wouldn't be shocked, right? Of course, it'd be surprising, but I wouldn't be shocked. And a lot of people are bringing up the first panel where Dragon is introduced at Logtown. And guess what? When Dragon showed up, it started raining. We actually got the Zaza sound effect in that chapter. So could he be the mythological rain god today? I think the chances are high, but he's not the only option. Of course, we could just simply get a brand new character that has the Zaza Devil Fruit, or hell, kind of like how Luffy's Devil Fruit was disguised as the Gumma Gumma no Mi and then later revealed as the Sun God Nika Fruit. Perhaps there's another character in One Piece that we have met that actually has the Zaza Devil Fruit, and they just don't know it yet. Or maybe this Devil Fruit didn't respawn like a normal Devil Fruit, and instead we're simply going to get a reincarnation of Zaza, which sounds crazy, but in this chapter they mention that this god appears with the rhythm of the rain dance, which rain dance, dude, my mind immediately, of course, goes back to Alabasta and the dance powder, which does summon the rain. So maybe this is all going to lead to Vivi. I wouldn't be shocked if this is Vivi related in some way. It's related to Alabasta. Yeah, perhaps this is going to be a Vivi ability, or maybe Vivi's the reincarnation of Zaza, which at that point we're getting like Vivi, Zaza. It's more and more ridiculous. Another great character that could be a reincarnation of Zaza. I'm not too sure if people will like this, but it could be Nami. Nami has always been our weather girl. She's always had this weird affinity with the weather where she can instantly tell what the hell's going to happen just by, the breeze on her skin. So, there are good options out there aside from Dragon, but we'll see. Another route we could go down as well, even though I do not think that this is super likely, but Zaza's fruit might just not have been eaten yet. Like maybe we'll go to the next island, for example. And, oh, look! On a tree! It's Zaza's Devil Fruit! It's the rain fruit! It could happen. I'm not saying it's impossible. It could definitely happen. That would make sense. But it would just be a little bit silly. And we should have this Devil Fruit in circulation as we speak, though, right? Because we do know that Devil Fruits are born out of dreams and desires. As long as you believe in it, it does exist. And the Celestial Dragons fear this thing. The Celestial Dragons, in my opinion, are the ones bringing this into existence. I do think Zaza's out there. It's just a matter of where and with whom. If it's actually still a fruit and it's evaded everybody for the past 900 years, I think that'd be crazy, but, crazier things have been done before. So, yeah, Zaza coming in, flooding the village. This is some good stuff. And one thing as well, since we're talking about Celestial Dragons, but I wonder if this is why Celestial Dragons wear the bubble suits, because they're afraid of rain. This is Killingham's nightmare. This is what Killingham is most afraid of. Maybe that's why he, out of Gunko, Sommers, and, Shamrock and the Gorosei, that's why he wears the bubble, because he's afraid of rain. I think that could be a pretty good revelation, because eventually we're going to have to explain the weird spacesuits. Maybe this is it. Maybe they're just fearful of the rain goddess. Another thing as well is that, I don't know if you guys remember, but when we got the Harley text, it didn't specifically mention the rain god anywhere. We heard about the sun god, we heard about the earth god, we heard about the forest god, and we heard about the sea god. You could say sea god and rain god, they're synonymous, and that's totally fine, but we didn't actually get the rain god name drop in the Harley text. So I wonder where this creature or goddess actually fits in with the wider lore of the world. But granted, they could have just been omitted. Like war god obviously was not in the Harley text. So we'll see. We go on, and now we got the final portion of the chapter. We see that Killingham is, of course, bringing the kids over to the boat, so Zaza is on the move, and Sommers says we can set sail whenever, brother. Goldberg turns to Zoro and says, hey, Zoro, should we go to the village where Killingham's at? But Zoro looks up at Sanji and he says, nope, it'll be fine. This is always my favorite interaction. I will admit, out of the Straw Hats, this is always my favorite thing to see. Zoro and Sanji, they don't always like each other, right? They have that rivalry there, but beneath the rivalry is solid trust. Zoro sees Sanji and he says, nope, the village will be fine. And he says, hey, don't screw this up. And Sanji says, right back at ya. And that is where the chapter ends. It's crazy. You know, I have always been a believer that Zoro was going to fight Killingham and that Sanji was going to fight Sommers. I feel like thematically, it just made the most sense. But no, Oda is tripling down that Sanji is going to Killingham and that Zoro is going to Sommers. And it's like, all right, this is what we're doing, man. I'm totally cool with it. And I do wonder how these fights will go down. Because for me, at least, it's always hard to imagine Zoro and Sanji losing. Right? And we're talking about Killingham and Sommers, man. I mean, of course, they are, you know, Maki, Omen, Blackfire buffed. But still, I'm just actually not sure. You know, somebody's been going back and counting all the St. Sommers elves, and it's like, dude, are we really going to see St. Sommers get defeated a 4th time in one arc? I mean, God Valley took the L. Against Scopper Gaban, took the L. Against Luffy, took the L. Are we really adding a 4th loss onto St. Sommers' record sheet? You know, and here's the thing. Somebody said, oh, but Sai, he's been looking good outside of that. And it's like, no, he hasn't. You know, sorry, guys, I don't count St. Sommers beating women and children as a big W for his character, man. Like, whenever it comes to fighting a good named opponent that can actually brawl, Sommers just loses. So now, getting back to Zaza for the final time, what are we going to do about this rain goddess? Well, I don't think we have to beat her. Because here's the thing, right? While we could, you know, go extreme dip and take down the rain goddess and everything would be fine and dandy after that, in reality, there is a much simpler option right in front of us. And that is to simply beat Killingham. If Sanji's able to beat this Kirin Devil Fruit user, Zaza should simply disappear. So I do think that that is how we're going to get rid of Zaza. But as far as Zaza goes, I do think that there are characters that could stall her out. And you know who I'm going to bring up here. Jinbei, the first son of the sea, the fishman of the Straw Hat crew. Where there's rain, there's water, and where there's water, there's Jinbei, baby. Yes, that is right. I do think Jinbei, who is up and about, could actually do something about this. Is that racist? Whenever I talk about Jinbei, I always gotta like stop and just say, wait, like, what am I doing here, man? But really though, you know, Zaza is made of water. Jinbei should be able to like, you know, go inside of her, swim around a little bit and just, you know, throw her to the side. It could happen, man. You know, don't count out Jinbei, man. Dude, Jinbei in water, dude. That's, whoo, this is his territory, man. So outside of Jinbei, there are a lot of Straw Hats and notable characters that are still up and about. Vegapunk being one of them, Bonnie being another one. Of course, you know, Vegapunk said that they wanted to protect Bonnie, and Bonnie said, yeah, I'm not gonna fight that guy, referring to Emu, but that right there doesn't exclude them from other battles. So maybe they come in and fight Zaza as well. You know, maybe Vegapunk whips out another weird technological thing that gets rid of water. Another character, of course, would be Frankie. Frankie is still nearby. We could also see Yarul finally do something. Maybe this is where Hyruden gets back up. Brook, of course, still down for the count. Usopp still down for the count. We haven't seen them in a minute. And another character that could just jump in and just do something big would be Nami. All right, a minute ago, we were talking about, you know, rain goddess Nami theories. So potentially, we could see Nami coming over here and doing something as well. Which, I was going to say, maybe she shoots down a lightning bolt, but I feel like that would just hurt the Giants instead. But yeah, there are a lot of characters that could stall Zaza while Sanji and Zoro wrap up and finish the Knights of God. Good chapter, guys. Zaza, huh? Now that we have Zaza, brother, we just got a few more gods to see in One Piece, and then we got the whole cast here on stage. Let me know your thoughts on all of this down below. How do you feel about Zaza? How do you feel about the Knights of God and all of this stuff down below? And I'll catch you guys later. Of course, in the next couple of days, we will be coming back and doing a comment read-through video. So if you want your comment read, make sure to drop it down below. And like I said multiple times in this video, we will be holding a lot of polls during this break week. So stay tuned for that because we will be making videos on those as well. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video all the way until the end. And I will catch you guys later. Signing out, brothers.